Hello everybody, my name is Caretaker and I'm back from the grave being another episode of Yearwalk, and this is going to be my final Yearwalk episode. And then I'll be doing some RPG horror games, you know, the old Wolf RPG stuff. But what I wanted to do, since I never got a chance to do it, was I want to read everything about this. I didn't actually read through the stories or anything about this, so I'm going to look at the encyclopedia, and I'm also going to show the final ending, or the secret ending, which I know how to get, and I'm pretty sure you can do it at any time. I'm not sure it works, but I'm about to beat the game here, so I figured it would be good if you need to unlock it and then beat the game, because then I can get the secret ending right off the bat. So anyway, the Yearwalk Encyclopedia is a collaborative effort between Simogo and Theodore Elmsted, who is the author of all the written content. Theodore Elmsted Curriculum Vitae. Theodore Elmsted was born in Stockholm, 1968, but spent most of his youth in Edinburgh, where his mother was born. He graduated from Lund University in 1992, and is a Doctor of Philosophy. Okay, pretty sure I got that right, or it's Phi at the Faculty of Ethnology. His lectures on the manifestations of evil in folklore has been full every term from 1998 and onwards. I really want to go to that class. Theodore has written 3 books on Scandinavian folklore. The Crone's Tongue has been translated into 16 languages and received the prestigious Hornet Award in 1999. He has had numerous appearances on Swedish television, and an unaired children's short film called The Grimm was partially based on Theodore's research. So I actually found out that I was actually corrected in that Yearwalk is actually Swedish. It's not German. I'm terrible with mixing that stuff up. I just see, you know, Bachahasten and, you know, all this stuff, and I just assumed it was German, because that's the only language I've seen use that, so anyway, jumping into it, this is the Erstgang, I don't know, it's called Yearwalk. Yearwalking was at its core a vision quest with the purpose being to foresee the future. There were very rigid rules concerning the Yearwalk, and not adhering to them could prove very dangerous, even fatal. How the practice of Yearwalking came to be is shrouded in mystery, but it seems to have been a widespread practice in Sweden until the beginning of the 19th century. There is no "the" there, ignore me. And in some rural eras as late as the beginning of the 20th century. The practice was likely over 1,000 years old and most certainly pagan. Yearwalking varied greatly, regionally and even locally. There might have been differences between one village and the next. All the variations had a couple of elements in common, though. A yearwalk could not be done on any common day. There were certain days a year when the gate was opened, generally in liaison with important festival days such as May Day, Midsummer's Eve, or Christmas Eve, and most commonly New Year's Eve. A yearwalker could not partake of any of the food or drinks that were served on these days. A sacrifice of no little significance, since these feasts were some of the rare occasions when food would be plentiful and varied. A yearwalker had to avoid other people, so they commonly locked themselves in dark rooms and were not allowed to see a fire for the entire day. Perhaps not a vast sacrifice on Midsummer's Eve, but on cold winter days it would be uncomfortable at least, if not hazardous. Oh god, down here it's so bad. If the yearwalker followed these steps, he would leave his dark room at the stroke of midnight. This would be his last chance to enter the yearwalk. Once he ventured out, there was no turning back. The church was the final destination for a yearwalker. On his way, he would typically encounter a number of supernatural creatures, which would pose a threat physically, mentally, and spiritually. If a yearwalker made it to the cemetery, he would walk around the church in an intricate pattern. This would open the yearwalker's eyes to the future, but would also lure out the church grim. After having completed the yearwalk, the walker would see visions that could manifest themselves in different manners. When the yearwalker left the cemetery, he might, for instance, see a somber procession of dancers dressed in their finest church clothes. These would be the people that would die the following year. A recurring theme is, of course, the yearwalker who meets his own ghost on the road. Another story tells of how the walker would see newly dug graves. Love played a great part too, so a walker would typically meet wedding processions or even attend weddings yet to come. One testimony from the 19th century tells of a mental patient named Martin Nilsson, who described his visions as otherworldly experiences. Before I saw what happened next year, I lived among the stars. I lived there for many lifetimes, it seemed. What do I care for next year? Time has already ended. Today, the practice seems to be almost entirely forgotten. Alright, we're going to go back to the Huldra. It's the ghost cutie, hell yeah. The Huldra is known to have played... I'm not even going to bother pronouncing this. I apologize, but I can't, so I'm not going to butcher it. The Huldra is known to have played a part in Norse mythology, but she is likely of an even older origin from when man lived off the forest rather than the fields. The Huldra was the guardian of the forest. Which is kind of funny because you did that little name thing of what you are, and I'm the dark guardian of the forest, so hell yeah, me and Huldra OTP here. Anyway, the Huldra was the guardian of the forest. She tended the trees, plants, and animals. A single large tree in a grove surrounded by smaller trees was often considered to be the Huldra's home, or even the Huldra herself. In most stories, she presented herself as a beautiful young woman. This was, however, not her real appearance. Very few saw the Huldra's true face, and even fewer lived to speak of it. She was often described as a lonely and woe-filled creature. Her relationship with humans was very complex. Hey, baby, hell yeah, we'll do this. Why is he wedded there? She could enthrall a man with her beautiful song and lure him deeper and deeper into the forest, where she either wedded or killed him. The men kissed by the Huldra would become apathetic and slow. Well, I'm not exactly a happy-go-lucky guy, so the apathetic thing wouldn't bother me. Slow might be a problem, because I gotta go fast. Seriously, though, that's one of my biggest things. I have to keep moving. But anyway, according to some accounts, the Huldra was a positive force. If a hunter was kind to the Huldra, she might blow her breath down the barrel of his rifle, which would bless his hunt. Colliers considered her their friend, as she kept fires from spreading from their charcoal kiln. She also helped those who willingly offered their blood to her, but this was dangerous, as the Huldra might drink the giver dry. Is she a vampire? The Huldra was thus capable of doing both good and bad deeds. It was very hard to predict whether she would help or harm, since she played roles unknown only to her. Alright, on to the Brook Horse. Sweden is a country that has a lot of lakes, rivers, streams, and brooks, and Swedish folklore is filled with strange creatures residing in the dark waters. The Brook Horse was a pale horse who lived in creeks or lakes, luring children to ride on its back. The Brook Horse's spine grew for every rider that it lured on top of its back. When the Brook Horse was satisfied, it leaped into the water, whereupon the children drowned. The Brook Horse had a lot in common with the Nix, a handsome young fiddler who lured young girls down into the water, and according to some, they were one and the same. It's likely that the Brook Horse was made up to keep children from playing too close to the water. One of the more unusual descriptions comes from the story told in the north of Dalarna. A young man is on his way home from his work at a charcoal kiln. He decides to wash up in a nearby creek. The man finds a strange stone formed like a small child in the water. He picks it up. The man notices that he is not alone. He is being watched by a horse walking on two legs. The horse stretches out a human hand to the man, who gets frightened and runs home to a shack he shares with his fellow workers. He tells the tale to his comrades, who laugh at him and call him a drunken fool. He shows them a stone that now looks quite ordinary. The man curses and goes to bed. When the workers wake up the following morning, they find the man dead in his bed, his lungs filled with water and the stone nowhere to be seen. The Brook Horse was almost always closely associated with death, not always in a negative way. For instance, in the sad folktale Lil Nils, the Brook Horse is the only one who finally leads Little Nils' soul home and thus ends his long series of misfortunes. I got a lot of this stuff to read. Alright, can I go ahead? Oh, awesome. I'm going to skip right ahead. Mylingen. The Mylingen. Now that I can read. Infanticide was a fairly common crime in Sweden during the 19th century and earlier. The two most common motives were that there was no room for another mouth to feed, or that the child had been conceived outside of wedlock. The souls of these unfortunate children became Mylings. Typically, the Mylings were murdered by their mothers, often unmarried women who had been left to fend for themselves. The Myling would commonly be left in the woods to die, or they would have been drowned by their mothers in brooks or bogs. Some Mylings died at the hands of angel makers. The angel maker would typically be paid by the child's poor mother to find a decent home for the infant. When the mother left, the infant was murdered. The most common way for the Myling to haunt was through a horrible wailing sound. The Myling might take the form of a ball of light similar to those of an Urbolos, Scandinavian will-o'-the-wisp, and lead the curious traveler astray. Hey, that's a fucking Litwick if anyone plays Pokemon. That is literally a Litwick. Sometimes they would cry in will-o'-wisp. That's another fire. Yeah, now people know why Litwick is there. It's just a candle. No, it's actually Swedish folklore. Eat a dick. Litwick's awesome. Sorry. The curious traveler astray. Sometimes they would cry for their mothers to breastfeed them, which would apparently set them free. One story from Bergslagen tells of an old farmer on his way home through the forest. He is approached by a small child who follows him and says, "Grandfather, grandfather, I am so hungry." The old man tries to ignore it, but the child keeps on nagging. So finally, the old man loses his patience. "If you can't find someone to feed you, then feed, but you won't get any milk from me." The child seems pleased and leaves. When the old man comes home, he finds his daughter laying dead on the floor, bleeding from her chest. The child he met was a spirit of his murdered grandson. Damn, dude, ripping off titties? That's crazy. A person who helped the Mylings find their way to the other side was often left with a gift. According to some sources, the Myling would be taken in by other supernatural creatures such as Hobbs, or if it had been drowned, the Brook Horse. Alright, the Night Raven, or the Nachtravnen. carrion birds were deeply linked with misfortune and death in Scandinavian folklore. The night raven, or Nattravnen, was certainly no exception. The night raven was described as a large bird with a sharp beak, sometimes with holes in its wings. If a person gazed through those holes, he would become ill. Other stories told of a giant skeleton bird that could never satisfy its hunger. Travelers foolish enough to be out at night risked being devoured by the terrible bird, especially at festival days such as Christmas or New Year's Eve. The night raven has also been described as an ordinary raven, but if it landed on a house somewhere, someone would die shortly with a terrible fever. Overall, the night raven was strongly associated with disease. When farmers sent their children out to collect wild birds' eggs, they had to be careful that they did not pick the eggs of the night raven. Those eggs were considered deadly, but if the child was unsure, he could knock on the egg 3 times and say, "Out with the evil spirit." If the egg belonged to the night raven, it would turn black. The night raven not only infested the eggs, it also possessed birds, preferably carrion birds. According to some sources, the night raven was the spirit of an evil, greedy man who had not been buried properly. The greed manifested itself in the night raven's fondness for shiny objects. And finally, we have the Kirkogrimen. It's the Kirkogrimen. I believe it's how it is. The Church Grim. Of all the creatures in Swedish folklore, the Church Grim was doubtlessly the most complex and certainly the most feared. Little is known of it since it was considered bad luck to even speak about it. The Church Grim's appearance varied, which could possibly be attributed to the nature of the Church Grim's origin. When a church was built in medieval times, an animal was sometimes buried alive under the floors, most commonly goats, since these were comparatively cheap. And there have also been stories of criminals being buried alive as punishment. In other versions, the criminal's heart was cut out and placed inside an animal carcass that was sacrificed. The heart was central in many of the myths surrounding the Grim. Stories from the south of Sweden told that if you could touch the Church Grim's heart, you could stare into the eye of creation. The Church Grim guarded the church against thieves and grave robbers, but because of it, even honest folks avoided the church at night. Some stories say that if you were unlucky enough to be the last one to die during the year, you would serve the Church Grim the following year. There are other stories that suggest that the Church Grim was not a guardian at all, but rather a sort of parasite that was drawn to the energy of the church. While they're fed on people's hopes, dreams, and fears, a recent and controversial theory suggests that the Church Grim was closely related to a nameless Bronze Age deity. Alright, I do believe that's all of the stories. Yep, that's everything. Alright, so that's the encyclopedia. Now, I bet you're wondering, I need my paper for this because I haven't written this down yet. Let me grab my pen. I apologize. See, this is why whenever you're playing puzzle games like this, you gotta have a pen and paper nearby. So y'all remember the thing was north of the windmill, south of the brook. And you're thinking, look, there's nothing there. Oh, you wait a minute. What's this? So we have the. I got lucky when I was doing this. I was fooling around on the map because I was looking for a path because I was thinking about it and there's no paths. So it's Theo Alm 68. And then south of the brook of 1894. Alright, and I will leave this password and everything else down below. Alright, let me just put the pen up. Okay. Now to do this next section, all we have to do is open up we have to open up the journal now, which of course is locked. And we just gotta type, yeah, north of the mill, south of the brook. Alright, so Theom 68 1984. Sign in. Is that not it? That is what it said, right? Let me see. THEOALM 68. Did I miss something here? It's 6894? Let's try that out. Let's see. EOM 68 1984. No, it's 1894, sorry. Oops. Alright, I think I might have actually typed this wrong. Let's try 1894. Aha, I completely put in the wrong thing. Logging in Theodore, logging in version 0. Oh, holy shit, that's a, wow. Are you serious? What the hell? How am I supposed to... Wow, I'm not sure if this is going to be one... Oh, hello, new system. Testing photo uploaded. It works. Oh, these are short. Okay. Should probably write here more often. Read about every book on Swedish folklore there is. Folklore there is. Surprised how little there has been written about year walking. Need more sources of information. Talk to ES. He suggested some field work. Might be good, but I feel that I might be thirsty 30 years too late. Been talking to elderly folks, eating cookies and drinking coffee. Their knowledge about year walking has been limited, to say the least. Barely any one of them knew what it was. If they did, they had heard stories of children but forgotten the details. Thinking ES sent me on a wild goose chase. Interviews at the retirement home. May I never grow old. The last interview was intriguing, if very brief. Talked to one Astrid Jansen. She was over 100 years old. Clear at times, did not know a lot about folklore, but she did claim that her grandfather's brother had once year walked. Sadly, she did not know his name. He had died many years before she was born. You might have to look into it. Her maiden name was Svensson, which leaves me with a lot of possibilities. She was born in Vedtorp, and I can only hope that her grandfather was as well. More interviews, nothing worth mentioning. Professor Asp called today. He hinted that the faculty wanted to take part in my research. September 2nd. This is really cool. Followed up my visit to the retirement home. In the early 20th century, there were 6 households in Vedtorp with the surname Svensson, according to the church book. Astrid was born in 1913. Her grandfather was named Carl Fredrik. He had 2 brothers. One died in 1942. The other brother, Daniel Svensson, died in 1895. Since Astrid said that her great-uncle died before she was born, Daniel is the one that supposedly year walked. A miller apprentice, going to the library to check out old newspapers tomorrow. Looked for reference of Daniel Svensson in old newspapers. I'm grasping at straws. Another day at the library, nothing of interest. Bored, about to give up. Excited, the newspapers finally mentioned a Daniel Svensson, who was apparently arrested for the murder of a young woman in Vedtorp. Information is scarce. Her name was Stina Nilsson. That's actually the name of one of the songs, is Stina. It's what I use in the intro of my videos of the Yearwalk. And she was a miller's daughter. Her body was found on a field outside of the village. She had been stabbed multiple times. Wait a minute. The library should be open longer. Hope I can find any reference to the supposed year walk. September 11th. The motive behind the murder seems to be jealousy. Not many details. Apparently Stan was going to marry Lucas Tapper. She was on her way home from Lucas's parents when she was intercepted by Daniel. She was found the following morning just 17 years old. I feel a tad guilty about my excitement yesterday. After all, there's a great tragedy behind all this. The press seemed to have lost interest in the case after a while. Found nothing today. Maybe ES can tell me something. Had a long talk on the phone with ES. The murder case was unknown to him. He had, however, spent a lot of time in Vedtorp during the 60s when he studied folklore in the area. There had been a rather peculiar runestone that seemed to predate the Viking Age. ES claims that there was a definite connection between the symbols on the stone and year walking. He cannot tell how. Want to check it out. Went to the library again, in case I missed something about Daniel. Indeed I had. I found another article. Feeling upset and a little bit sad, borrowed the article just in case. Perhaps there's more to learn about Daniel. Booked a hotel in Vedtorp. Arrived in Vedtorp. It's a small place, one street cut to the village. It's a rather depressing place. To be fair, the weather could not do any place justice. Yeah. The hotel is empty besides me and a group of dog toy manufacturers who are a bit on the noisy side. Must ask chef... Sorry. Gotta clear my throat. Must ask chef for the veal recipe. Got a map from the hotel owner, excited about the archive. Have the feeling that I will find something major. Just got back from the archive. An interesting place. Sadly, it's only open 4 hours a day. It's understandable since I was the only visitor. Possibly found the files I need. Tomorrow, reading and lots of it. I knew it! The archive is exceeded by wildest dreams. On New Year's Eve, 1893, Daniel Svensson did indeed yearwalk. The court records refer to his yearwalk at several occasions. I have just started to scratch the surface. There must be belief hidden amongst these papers that have been forgotten for ages. Amazing, this is by far the latest recorded yearwalk. I hope I'm excused for borrowing the file from the archive. They gave me little choice since they are closed during the weekend. Could not sleep last night, too excited by the files. Much of the records are of a legal nature, but there are relevant passages. Daniel claimed he knew that he would murder Steiner after seeing it in a vision on his yearwalk. Sadly, the scribe had not bothered to take it all down and occasionally just refers to it as a ramblings of a madman. Poor boy, there are certain elements that are new to me. Must write down in detail later on. Need fresh air, Daniel's cabin, Salsford, and is briefly mentioned in the protocol. We'll ask around about it. Hope it still exists. Huh. Drove around for hours in the forest. Said these are woods to get lost in. Asked for directions from every local. Most people never heard of the cabin. Was about to give up when I met an old man. His aunt had lived there till the 60s. From then it had 3 different owners that used it as a summer house until the mid 80s. The last family that owned the cabin only stayed there one summer. Their 5-year-old son drowned in a brook nearby, and after that they never returned. Nobody had lived there since. The old man's nephew owned that land. I asked the old man if I could pay to visit. He did not think there could be anyone that would mind. This looks awesome. The cabin is situated deep into the forest. No sign, no road, just a narrow path. This was the place where he started his year walk over 100 years ago. Felt overwhelmed by the thought, could not enter. It's a lonely place. The only other building I could find in the area was an underground storehouse. Guess it might have belonged to the cabin. It was too dark to see anything, but I can't imagine there would be anything of significance in there. On my way back to the car, I found this strange box. What an odd thing to leave in the middle of the forest. Seems to be more or less mint condition. Could not resist taking it. Tonight I need whiskey and lots of it. Went to Vedtorp Church today. It's a small white stone church built in the 12th century. The place where the church stands has been used for worship even earlier than that. According to the priest I met, he showed me around the premises. But put a bouquet of flowers on Stina's grave. Seemed appropriate. The almost unlikely somber epitaph read, in memory of our loving daughter, Stina Nilsson, 1877-1894. Her cries for mercy could not sway his hand. Depressing. Searched for Daniel's grave, but there was no stone. According to the priest, there probably never was. The gravestones E.S. told me about are gone. The priest is not sure where they are or even when they disappeared. October 2nd. I don't know why I did that. Weather has been unreasonably bad. Spent the day at the county archive. Had trouble concentrating. Tried to locate a photograph of Daniel's fencing, but no luck. The clerk explained that a lot of stuff was lost when the files were moved from the regional archive back in 1976. Apparently there was another murder case in Veldtorp in the early 1890s. A Lisa Rasmussen drowned 4 infants in a creek. She was an angel maker who received foster children from poor unmarried mothers. Lisa promised to find the babies good homes in exchange for a hefty sum of money. This was all a charade. As soon as the mothers had paid what little they owned, she drowned their children in a nearby creek. All files from that trial have been lost. Outrageous. Think I'm done with the archive. Been thinking a lot about that church. Strange day. The rune stone he has talked about is not marked on any map. Talked to the man at the service station. He drew me a rather primitive map. Neat. Searched for the stone for a long time. Almost gave out. Found it at last. Felt compelled to touch it. Had the strangest sensation of looking beyond. Beyond what? The feeling lasted for quite some time. Heading home now. Wish I had more time. This stone is old. Might predate Christianity. But I failed to see how it is connected to year walking. Could not resist stopping by the church on my way home. Walked around it for a bit. It's a pretty church. Not remarkable, but there is something about it. Feel that the church and the stone are connected somehow. From the box when I unpacked. I had almost forgotten about it. It seems to have some lock-like construction, but I have yet to understand exactly what it is or how to open it. It reminds me of one of those puzzle boxes. The wheel with the symbol suggests it opened by entering a password. It must be old. Maybe E.S. knows something about it. Decided not to tell E.S. about the box. He might not appreciate that I took it with me. He was always nagging me about ethics. Hell yeah, let's party, Theo. Yeah. Busy week, classes and meetings. His faculty is really getting in the way of my research. Feeling a bit strange. I've had weird dreams ever since I came back from Vedtorp. Dreamt that I was in a vast wasteland. I was searching for the keys to my locker together with Jenny from high school. We laughed and dug in the sand. Suddenly the sky lit up and Jenny pointed to a simple constellation of stars. She whispered in my ear to never forget it. I asked her what it meant, but she was dead and her bones were withered and old. Woke up and have been feeling rather queasy ever since. Okay, that's a triangle. I have a feeling we're going to need to look at that box. So I'm actually going to write this down. So as you know, because of a lot of reading, this episode might drag on a little bit. I apologize if it does, but I really do want to figure out what the secret ending is. So, read an account of a year walk by a man called Ramadel in an old book I came over in a used bookshop. Ramadel's story is a little more than a tall tale told by a drunken oaf. Most of them seem to be. Daniel's sticks out. It haunts me. Held a lecture on year walking. Several faculty members attended it. They ridiculed me in front of the students. Huh. Another strange dream. Was during my homework, was stressed because the oil lamp was running out of oil, and when it did, the pale horse outside the window would come inside. The lamp burned out and everything went Went black. Woke up soaked in sweat. I don't see any clues here except for hasten, but must remember to buy groceries. Yeah. Fiddle with the box. I have no clue how to open it. Frustrating. Yeah. What jealous, small-minded, greedy creatures the faculty members are, and they will undoubtedly create small-minded, jealous, and greedy students. Don't feel the need to share any of my research with the faculty anymore. They don't deserve to read something that my hand has written. They would not understand anyway. The thought of what was inside that box is like an itch that can't be scratched. I've searched for references to anything about it, but I found nothing that resembles it at all. Having more strange dreams, something happened in those woods. Is year-walking a mere vision quest? Are the visions brought on by lack of light and food? Yes, believe so. Not so sure. Jumped to the runestone. Was in the forest outside Vedtorp. Mrs. Bowman was walking up to me. I was very afraid. She said that I had been a bad boy and broken the rules. Before I could defend myself and tell that I did not mean to be naughty, she withered into dust. Found myself in front of the runestone. The Grimm's eyes glowed at me. Woke up. I don't know where those runes are, so... Found myself thinking of the stone. What does it mean and how is it connected to year walking? What did people do in those woods? Do not feel like sleeping tonight. Drinking coffee and watching TV. If I stay awake, those dreams will stay away. Could not understand much of my students' presentations today. Must sleep. Something is watching me. All the time. Got an email reminder to deliver the text for the game. Wrote 7 or 8 pages. Hopefully it's enough. Waiting. Don't know for what. Have a feeling that something is on its way. Okay, there's another symbol. So this is the half circle. Okay. Got over 1,000 of these during last night. The email seemed to have stopped. My inbox was full. Don't know what it could mean. Maybe it's a prank for my students, but they seem too unimaginative to come up with something like that. Don't think it will end here. You've been looking for information. Blah, blah, blah. Hi, Theater. Just want to double check. Okay, well, I can't read the other ones. Is this some kind of threat? Is this some kind of threat? Called the priest, told him my plight. He said that Vedtorp sometimes had a strange effect on people, but it rarely lasted. Do not think he understands. I was going to ask him about the box, but decided to hang up when he suggested I see someone. Woke up last night. Heard baby screams from beneath the floorboards. Panicked, managed to pry up from the floorboards. The screaming stopped. The Watchers, the Night Raven, the Huldra, the Brook Horse, and the Church Grim. There might be others. Cannot be sure. Can they disguise themselves? Maybe they can read my mind. The Watchers, because they watch. That's what they do. But is it all they do? Yearwalk equals system error. Yearwalking works, but it was never meant to. It's against the rules. The universe blinked its eye, and someone crossed all barriers that are known as time and space. The Watchers are watching, but who are watching the Watchers? Okay, I don't see a symbol here, so... How can you bend time and space? This is getting really interesting. Got in a heated argument with ES. He is surprisingly scornful of my theories. Must remember that he's an old man and he might not be as open to new ideas any longer. He claims that it is impossible to gaze into the future. The future is not set. Nothing happens until it happens. Of course, it's impossible to look into the future according to logic, but I'm not sure they are playing according to our rules. The Watchers are more than they appear, and less. They are real, yet they are unreal. They do not exist in the manner that this table and this chair exist. How do I know these things, and are they my thoughts? Am I writing this? I certainly did not draw this, but yet it's right there in my notebook. Okay, that's a square. Let's write that down. Okay. November 21st. Watchers or antibodies? That looks cool as hell. Daniel broke the rules, and he was punished. Held another lecture, the last one for a long while it seems. It's been decided that I need a break, but it matters not. Have more important things to do. Okay, any symbols? 8, 10, 30, 10, 19. I've been an idiot. Someone's playing with these shapes. It's the same as in the box. If someone seen me take it, try the symbols I received. The box remains shut. There must be more coming. I'm going to write down those numbers real quick, just to be sure. So 8, 10, 30, 10, 19, 11. Okay. Alright, did I miss something? No, okay. Woke up last night, the telephone rang. Answered. Could not hear anyone. Hung up, it rang again. Answered. Could hear someone speak on the other side. Could not make out what was being said. The voice was too far away. Hung up, it kept ringing. Cut the cord. Bought whiskey, bought food. People stare. Don't want to go out there again. Too many know who I am. If you break the rules, there will be consequences. Wish I had not cut the cord of my phone. Need to hear a human voice. Don't dare go out. Don't dare to go out. At first, I didn't notice. One of the paintings on my living room has been replaced. Okay, that's a change. It must have happened during the 30 minutes I slept. Cannot let my guard down. Someone was here or something. Will the antibodies come for me? Am I a virus in the eye of the universe? Okay, that's another triangle, and it's the normal side now. Okay. Illuminati confirmed. Boarded up the balcony and all the windows. Nothing can come in now. I hope. Shouldn't be possible. Someone's here again. I'm definitely being threatened. There was a knife on my kitchen table. Old, but sharp? I'm not sure if that's a symbol. I realized that the knife is his. We are connected. The church is central to this, and yet it is not. Perhaps the church itself is not important, but rather the energy of the place. Perhaps the gate is always there, but it's not a gate. Gates are meant to be open or closed. This is a rift in the fabric of the very existence of everything. But why allow it? Why does a universe or God or someone not shut the gate? If we're not meant to do it, why let us? I can hear the heart of the universe beating. What is happening? I feel like a worm under a big boot. I feel the shadow hanging over me, waiting to get crushed. She rings and I shall follow. She's trying to fool me. That I know, but I must get closer to her because then I get closer to the key that leads to the heart of it all. I didn't steal the box because it begged me to take it with me. Daniel survived all the watchers sent by the universe. He was lured by the temptress, brought the innocents to the pale horse, unearthed the parasite, and finally faced the master of them all. But yet he was destroyed. Could it have gone any other way? Was he doomed from the start? Am I doomed? Is the future set, or can it be altered? Alright, I don't see any symbols. We're going to go ahead and skip the next one. Must help him. It's the right thing to do. There is a bond between us. Might have figured it out. 5 watchers, 5 symbols, which means there is one more coming. I'm not sure if that has anything to do with it. So tired. Can't seem to hold my thoughts for any period of time. Should probably eat more often, but I must resist. It's important that I come prepared. The heart beats stronger, but I will break it and see beyond everything. In the end, it was the nature of man that got Daniel. Must free myself of all desires. That's how they get to you. Can love really be a weakness, or is it a strength? And the poor girl. It just seems unfair. Is there anything I can do? If the future can be altered, why not the past? Am I playing the part of the fool in the cosmic play? And if so, to what purpose? Disconnected the microwave oven, just in case. Feeling absolute terror at the possibility that there is no purpose, no rhyme, no reason to any of it. Why me? The only way I can help him is if I break the rules. It will come at a price, but what do I care if I can rise above it all? So it broke above it all and down. And how? I don't see any symbols, so I guess we're good. Saw her lifeless body. She's beautiful, even in death. Have been crying ever since. It all seems so needless, so cruel. Ready for anything, don't care anymore. It's finally here, the last one. Woke up with this in my palm. So it's... Go ahead and do this. Okay. Try to wash it out. It's a tattoo. Tested them all in different kinds of combinations, but I could not figure out how to do it. I must sleep. I will open that box tomorrow. Of course, or simply rotate the reel and release from the symbol lines with the grim in the order they were delivered to me. But why was it empty? I thought it was Daniel all along. I thought he was here, but it cannot have been he who sent me the password. It doesn't make sense. If the box is empty, it means it must be filled? I still do not understand who sent the symbols. If it was not the boy, then it must have been the watchers. But why? Are they toying with us? Helping us in some perverse, twisted way? From the get-go, he was doomed. They got him at the very thought of year-walking, but I think the girl can be saved. I put everything he needs in the box and locked it. I will leave it where I found it, where all of this started. If my mind is set on this, does it mean that I am doomed too? The rift is open. It wants me to go through. Packed my things. I wonder if I will come back. Soul sorting. It's cold here. I wish I could light a fire, but I must do it right. Surprised how calm I feel. Only hours remain. It's midnight. Fuck, that was trippy as hell. That was so fucking cool. Okay, so we need to go back to the box, which is right down here. I'm starting to think that we're actually Daniel. And we are the ones who stabbed her in the vision. God, this has got all kinds of fucking trippy. It's down here, right? I'm pretty sure it is. One more, okay. Hopefully opening the box will give us what we need. Alright, let's see if this works. Okay, so it was the upside down triangle first. And then it was the side one. So it's this one. And then it was the square. And then it was the regular triangle. And it was the upside down one of these. Oh shit. Redtorp murder executed. Kristianstad, January 21st. Yesterday morning, Vedtorp killer Daniel Svensson was executed at Kristianstad prison. He was found guilty for the heinous murder of young Stina Nilsson last year. The death sentence has been criticized by the highly renowned Dr. Helmer Lundbach, who stated that Daniel is suffering from an abnormal psyche. He seems to have problems discerning past and present and has visions of terrible creatures, something not uncommon among schizophrenics. Daniel could not be held accountable for his actions and should be given treatment at an institution for the criminally insane. The execution was performed by Gustav Dahlberg. This was his fourth execution. Last year, he was to perform the execution of the notorious Lisa Rasmussen, who was charged with the murder of 4 infants in Vedtorp, but who took her own life before the sentence could be carried out. Security has been improved greatly since. Daniel Svensson was composed during the whole process. Besides the slightly shaking hands so common from any other young men, he sobbed loudly once when he laid his head down low, but quickly regained his composure. A quick prayer and a swift, powerful stroke, and it was over. According to the attending priest Granath, Daniel's last words were, "I should have killed myself, then none of this would have happened." You are long dead when I write this, and I have not yet been born. Yet we have a connection beyond life, death, space, and time. The impossible made possible by year walking. But the Watchers always win. Even though you've not passed the rift yet, they sense the urge and they want their sacrifice. I wish there could be another way. I am sorry, but for her there is still hope. You can save her. You know what you must do. Fuck, that was trippy. Oh my god, that was amazing. That was totally worth just all of that. What? Just, I don't even know what to say. I'm just completely taken aback by that. That was amazing. And wow, holy shit. I am so glad I did this video. I am so insanely happy that I did this. And now we just watch. I'm gonna see if there's anything at the end of it. And that is officially the end. Wow, oh my god, that was cool as fuck. Well, that's pretty much it. That's all you can do in Yearwalk. That's the secret ending as well as all the Encyclopedia. I don't think I'll be walking again. I think I've had enough walking for a lifetime. But wow, that was an amazing secret ending and definitely worth it. That was funny. I wasn't funny, sorry. It was fun as hell, and god, everything just tying together like that was insane, and that was a really, really good game. It's like $5 too. I mean, it takes folklore from way over the country and the world, and I can't even talk right now. That was just too fucking cool. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the secret ending and the encyclopedia reading. That was my first attempt at really doing a reading. I hope to do creepypasta soon after this. So I'm going to be heading to the grave. Thank you all so much for watching. Welcome to town, everyone.